The unimaginable has happened in a stunning move that's shaken the monarchy to its core. Prince Harry has been officially removed from all royal duties, and the reason a secret affair that exploded into public scandal. The palace didn't hesitate. The statement was swift, the fallout immediate. Inside Clarence House, whispers turn to verdicts in Montecito's silence scream louder than words. As the world gasps and the headlines multiply, one question rises above the rest: has the rebellious prince gone too far this time? Or is he just the latest victim in a royal machine built to protect its own? Shocking revelation. Clarence House was unnervingly quiet. The kind of silence that only follows a detonation no one heard coming. Then, like thunder on marble floors, it happened. A palace press officer stepped before a locked room of aides and delivered a bombshell wrapped in royal brevity. Prince Harry will no longer carry out royal duties effective immediately. Gasps, stares, the echo of a legacy buckling under the weight of one man's choices. This wasn't a gradual stepping back like the carefully choreographed exit of Megxit. No, this was a severing, sudden, sharp, brutal. Whispers quickly swept through the corridors. A secret affair. Words like compromised conduct, unbecoming, and national reputation surfaced behind tightly shut doors. Senior staff exchanged nervous glances, already preparing for the inevitable media onslaught. Outside, the world didn't wait. News tickers blazed. Reporters went live mid-sentence. Prince Harry removed, a sentence not heard since the days of abdication crises and tabloid tsunami. He's inside palace walls. The fallout had begun, but for Harry the moment would define him. No titles, no duty, just questions, and one silent Roy. Oil rooms stunned into paralysis. Rumors and leak. It began with a whisper, a coded message here, a blurred photo there. At first it seemed like just another baseless rumor, until a high-level palace aide flagged the communications directly to Clarence House. The messages were unusual, too personal, too risky, and far too damning to ignore. Then came the leak. A tabloid received what appeared to be late-night voice messages, coded texts, and suspicious travel logs. Each breadcrumb pointed toward an alleged affair, and not with just anyone, but a woman whose identity was as enigmatic as it was dangerous to reveal. Speculation consumed the digital world. TikToks dissected voice tones, Reddit forums lit up with amateur sleuths connecting dots from previous appearances as and unnamed escorts at royal charity events. Twitter was merciless. The scandals spread faster than truth could keep up. What followed was chaos. Royal PR teams scrambled to trace the leak. Some believed the messages came from an insider, others insisted it was planted distraction. But the fact remained: the damage was done, and with the story out, the palace had no choice. The affair couldn't be ignored. Harry's duty was no longer compatible with the Crown's code. The decision was no longer if, but how swiftly they could act before the entire institution was pulled into the fire. Clarence House emergency. Inside the walls of Clarence House, the atmosphere was suffocating, thick with unspoken tension, history pressing down on every antique frame and velvet curtain. The air itself seemed to hold its breath. What was once just whispers in the halls had now reached the very heart of royal power, and at the center of it all sat King Charles, unmoving, his face carved in stone. At his right, Prince William, arms folded, jaw tight, expression unreadable, no notes, no phone, just silence and stare that betrayed nothing and everything all at once. Around them sat a circle of the monarchy's most trusted advisors, legal minds, military liaisons, and PR strategists, all summoned not just to witness a decision, but to enforce a judgment. The meeting was long, methodical. Documents were reviewed, security logs rechecked, timeline cross-referenced. They weren't just reacting to a tabloid headline. They were crafting a containment strategy for a royal scandal that had spiraled into a constitutional concern. Then came the verdict: Prince Harry would be formally removed from all remaining royal duties, no honorary titles, no ceremonial appearances, no military patronage, no diplomatic roles. His image would be taken off upcoming events. His involvement wiped clean, not suspended, removed. It wasn't just a decision, it was a surgical amputation, one they hoped would save the body of the monarchy from infection. Some aides lowered their heads as the words were spoken, others exchanged long glances, part sympathy, part relief, part disbelief. A few even left the room, early red-rimmed eyes, signaling the emotional toll behind palace decorum. And then there were those who whispered that it had been a long time coming, that Harry, though beloved by the public at times, had been veering too far off course for too long. That this affair, this breach, was simply the final straw. But still the moment stung. Because despite everything, Harry wasn't just a headline. He was a son, a brother, a soldier, a prince. King Charles didn't shout, he didn't cry. He didn't speak more than he had to. His decision was precise, calculated, and immovable. He signed the final draft of the internal memo, handed it to an aide, and closed the meeting with a single nod. This wasn't about family, it wasn't about reconciliation, it wasn't even about discipline. This was about monarchy survival. And when William stood to leave, his chair scraping against the polished floor, he didn't speak a word, but his silence filled the room like thunder, because in that moment it was clear the brother he once shared everything with had just become a ghost to the institution they were both born to protect. Immediate fallout. Within minutes of the official announcement, the world erupted into a frenzy of disbelief, speculation, and outrage. News anchors abandoned script to cover the breaking headline live, their voices straining with urgency. Words like unprecedented, shocking, and the end of a royal era were spoken so often they became refrains across networks in London, New York, Sydney, and beyond. Social media platforms detonated with hashtags: #Church Prince Harry stripped, #Royals scandal, #Windsor crisis. Each trending worldwide. Within an hour, Twitter timelines lit up like firestorms. Instagram reels dissected every possible clue and Harry and Meghan's past posts. TikTok creators released minute-by-minute updates, turning royal speculation into real-time entertainment. But beneath the noise there was a chilling sense of finality. At Buckingham Palace, panic wasn't loud, it was organized, controlled chaos. Royal calendars were scrubbed clean, Harry's appearances pulled from public listings, speeches erased from schedules, and photo ops deleted from press releases. Military organizations and charities released neutral statements like "We respect the Crown's decision and await further instruction. I'm cold safe, careful." But the real storm was happening in the shadows. Palace press lines, jammed inboxes flooded with inquiries, reporters camped outside royal residences, scanning for faces in the windows, cars in the driveways, any movement that could hint at where Harry was, how Meghan might respond, and what had really happened behind those stone walls. And perhaps the most jarring detail: no denial. No one from the palace stepped forward to say the affair rumors were false, no official correction, no PR maneuver, just silence. That silence was deafening. Inside palace corridors, staff were on edge, whispers traveled fast. Who leaked the messages? Who knew in advance? Who would be next to fall if the cracks widened? Some aides whispered about internal betrayals, others feared they were witnessing a royal unraveling. Not even the most seasoned advisors could stop. Among the public reactions, split. For some, the palace had overstepped. Was this really justice? As every or was Harry being used to distract from deeper fractures within the royal machine? For others, it was validation proof that even a prince can face consequences when trust is broken. There was no middle ground, just chaos and camps of opinion. The royal family, so often accused of moving too slowly, had acted with breathtaking speed this time. And that speed was as unsettling as the act itself. It raised more questions than it answered. Who pushed for the decision? Was this a premeditated strike, or a panicked move to contain something far bigger? But now that the deed was done, the true challenge had only just begun. The monarchy had drawn a line, but couldn't survive the aftershocks of the storm it just unleashed. The eyes of the world were watching, and this time, they weren't looking away. Harry in Montecito, far from the towering stone walls of the palace and the relentless echo of royal footsteps, Prince Harry sat in silence, tucked within the soft sunlit hills of Montecito. No press statements, no Instagram posts, no exclusive podcast drops. Just stillness and the quiet hum of a life suddenly suspended. The silence was striking. For a couple so often accused of oversharing now, there was nothing. No curated garden photos of Archie and Littlebit, no drone shots of the sprawling est. No friendly faces stepping in or out, just a single unmovable truth. Harry was alone with the consequences. Insiders close to the Sussex circle described his emotional state with heartbreaking precision. Shattered, blindsided, disbelieving. He had anticipated fallout. He had even prepared for tension, but he had not expected this, a swift, cold-cut removal from all royal duty, delivered with surgical speed and no public grace. The royal family hadn't just closed the door, they had slammed his shot, and suddenly the place he once called a sanctuary, a Californian paradise carved from privacy, began to feel like exile. Behind the gates there was no clear road map, no whispered plan. There was just a prince grappling with the weight of a legacy dismantled in real time. As for Meghan, her absence was even louder than Harry's silence. Not a post, not a statement, not a flicker of activity from her usually bustling team. Those close to her say she's devastated beyond words. Others claim she's carefully strategizing behind closed doors, working with crisis advisors, crafting a response. But until she speaks, the speculation only grows. The media naturally leaned into the mystery. Was the couple united in this chaos, or were they dealing with the repercussions on separate emotional planes? Meanwhile, for Harry, old memories returned like ghosts. The tense public appearances, the way the family turned inward after each breach of protocol, the icing out at Trooping the Color, the seating arrangements that spoke louder than words, moments that once heard, but now seemed almost prophetic. The signs had always been there. Now the royal bridge was burned and Montecito was the last island left standing. He wandered the grounds of his estate. Sources say spoke little, cancelled calls, looked at photos of Diana, of his children, of the life he once imagined. Was it grief? Was it rage, or was it just numbness? The world, of course, waited for a signal, any signal, a quote, a walk to the mailbox, a neighbor's glimpse, something to anchor the headlines and calm the frenzy. But all Montecito gave them was more silence, and in that silence lived the story of a prince no longer royal, a husband no longer protected by the institution, a father wondering what legacy, if any, he would now pass on, because in this moment Harry wasn't just cast out. He was forced to ask the most painful question of all: who is he without the crown? Royal reaction. Inside the walls of Buckingham, fury crackled like static in the air. King Charles, once known for his diplomatic poise, reportedly slammed a briefing folder shot after the allegations reached his desk. The betrayal didn't just sting, it cut through the crown. "He's left us no choice," one senior aide muttered under breath. The royal machine, already strained by years of headlines, was teetering once again, And this time it wasn't a distant cousin or fringe scandal, it was his own son. Prince William's reaction, by contrast, was colder, not emotional, but strategic. The rift between brothers had long been known, but this was different. He didn't yell, he didn't weep, he recalibrated quietly, efficiently, reshuffling roles, reclaiming projects, redirecting public focus back to the core institution. The distance between them, once merely painful, was now a chasm. William is defending the crown, Harry is defending himself, and Insider said plainly. Behind closed doors, other royals were torn. Some whispered that the punishment was too public, too harsh. Others feared not acting would erode their fragile control over the narrative. In a family that thrives on unity, the divide was now as glaring as the headlines outside palace rumblings. Not all within the palace believed the story as it stood. Some aides, lower level, closer to the edges, had a different take. One phrase kept surfacing. It was a setup. Was the league organic, or was someone pushing Harry out? Whispers grew louder as staff speculated the messages, the timing, the urgency. It felt orchestrated to some. Was it retribution? Political positioning, a convenient scandal to solve a long-standing problem? Others rolled their eyes at the conspiracy, believing Harry had simply lost control of his image, of his place, of his value to the throne. But one chilling thought emerged more than once: if someone within wanted Harry exiled for good, this would be the way to do it. Still, the palace didn't publicly address the speculation. Silence was its favorite tool, leaving the rest to spiral on social media, tabloid panels, and TikTok analysis videos. Whatever the truth, the result was the same. Harry was out, and trust it was shredded. Meghan's stand in Montecito. Another storm was brewing. Meghan Markle, long both championed and criticized for her strength, was now facing her most public test of loyalty. Inside sources hinted that she was heartbroken. Others said she was rallying behind Harry. But her silence was unnerving, not because she had nothing to say, but because she might be calculating how and when to say it. Would she issue a statement, stand by his side in a public appearance? Or was this the moment she would vanish from the narrative, pulling her children away from the spotlight once and for all? Some believed she was already in damage control mode. Rumors swirled about her business ties, endorsements, paused contracts, reconsidered speaking engagements, suspended. Juice of Determination was now facing uncertainty that no amount of PR spin could fully contain. People remembered the backlash she faced over her HRH title, the headlines, the cruelty, the isolation. And now those same pressures were mounting again. Was she preparing for another sit-down interview, another global reveal, or was she simply trying to protect what remained of their family life? Time would tell, but right now the silence spoke volumes. Legal turmoil. History. Prince Harry's history with the legal system has been complicated, and now it threatens to swallow him whole. From his court battles over security protections to lawsuits against tabloids, Harry has always walked a fine line between public figure and private citizen. But this affair, if confirmed, could tip that balance into uncharted legal territory. The palace's official contracts include strict confidentiality clauses. Breaches don't just break protocol, they may carry legal consequences, especially when tied to the national image. Some insiders now wonder, will Harry face legal pressure from within the monarchy itself? And what about the woman? Legal experts suggest that if this scandal leads to a revocation of privileges, compensation, or legal action, it may also lead to a redefinition of what it means to be royal in the modern world. This isn't just a family matter anymore. It's a legal minefield, one that could destroy reputations, contracts, and legacies all at once. Public versus palace, on the streets, in cafes, and across the digital sphere, one war is waging louder than all the others. The battle of public opinion. Some say Harry deserves privacy, that he's a man under impossible scrutiny. that he's been punished for being human in a system that demands perfection. Others call it recklessness, a betrayal not just of vows but of a kingdom's trust, and the divide grows deeper by the hour. Polls show generational tension. Those under 40 lean toward Harry's side. They see the crown as outdated, too rigid, too cold. Meanwhile, older voices defend the institution, claiming decorum and duty must come before personal drama. Social media feeds, or a battlefield. Justice for Harry. Royal shame has crowned these hard TikTok creators. Analyze every expression, every old interview, hunting for foreshadowing. Instagram reels of Harry and Meghan in better days are he posted with melancholic music. The monarchy now finds itself in unfamiliar oratory, not just in crisis but in question, because the people don't just want answers, they want a side to believe in, and the line between loyalty and legacy has never looked so thin. Brothers divide. For years the rift between Prince Harry and Prince William simmered behind closed palace doors, but now with this scandal, this very public disgrace, the divide has turned into a canyon wide and irreparable. They didn't speak after the removal announcement. Not in person. Not even by text. The silence between the brothers is louder than any press release. William has always carried the weight of the crown on his shoulders. And for him this scandal isn't just personal, it's institutional betrayal. Every action Harry takes, every headline he creates reflects on the monarchy. William is preparing to inherit. The stakes are no longer emotional, they're constitutional. Some insiders say William feels forced to take a hard line, even if it means losing his brother for good. He reportedly refused to comment on Harry's removal directly, but those close to him say he's now more determined than ever to preserve what remains of the monarchy's dignity. But others wonder beneath that iron posture. Does William grieve? Harry, for his part, is said to be reeling not just from the scandal, but from the realization that the bridge to his brother may finally be burned beyond repair. There's talk of unread messages, ignored outreach, and even an emotional voicemail never returned. Could there be redemption? Possibly, but it would require vulnerability on both sides, something the throne rarely allows, and the brothers have long struggled to show. As this chapter closes, it becomes painfully clear this is no longer just about scandal. It's about two men raised in a palace who no longer speak the same language of loyalty, of legacy, of love. The next moves with Harry out of royal duties. The question that now grips the world is simple. What will he do next? Retreat is one option. He could step away from the spotlight entirely, protect his family, and rebuild a quiet life in Montecito. What many believe, that's not who Harry is anymore. Some insiders predict a strategic comeback, a podcast series, a docu-series redemption arc, a foundation that takes back control of his narrative. He's done it before, and if history is any indication, he may do it again. There's also Meghan. Will she stand beside him as his public partner in defense, or will she choose a quieter route, managing damage behind the scenes? Sources say there's a plan in motion, though the shape of it remains tightly guarded. Then comes the legal front. Advisors are said to be reviewing contracts, past agreements, and options for responding to the scandal. There's talk of a possible lawsuit, or perhaps a tell-all to clear the air, something wrong, controlled, and deeply personal. The palace, meanwhile, seems committed to silence. No denials, no explanations. Just distance. And